Folks, look at this gorgeous dish. This is a chicken and poblano stew. If you want something that's just absolutely stunning and heavenly to try, give this one a shot. You're gonna love it. Well, howdy folks, and welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, we're going to make a magnificent, fabulous tasting dish. This is a chicken and poblano stew. It is so good tasting. Oh man, if you've ever had chicken and poblano stew before, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, then you're in for a very, very special taste treat because this dish is rocking. Now I'll tell you what, today, normally I would be cooking on my stove over here, but that's not going to happen because they shut down gas to this area, okay? We won't go into the whys and what fors, but the complex that I live in has no gas right now. So we're going to be using a camp stove. We're going to do this camp style. You see, I'm an avid camper. I love to go camping. I love to produce fabulous gourmet dishes when I am days away from society and 10 to 12,000 feet in elevation. It's my favorite area. Get up in the Rocky Mountains and make good food. So I'll tell you what, we're not in the Rockies today, we're cooking in Texas, but we're going to be doing it camp style. This is chicken and poblano stew. Guys, come over this way. Let's check out these gorgeous ingredients that we have to cook with, and let's get busy making one of the most delicious dishes you're ever going to have the honor of eating. Come on over. There they are, guys. The star of this dish is the chicken. That is 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast. And that's about what you're looking for, roughly 2 pounds of chicken meat. If you get chicken on the bone, then you want to compensate for that bone because we're looking for 2 pounds of meat, not just for 2 pounds of chicken meat and bone. Other ingredients. Down here I have 1 pound of poblanos. And you might want to weigh these at the grocery store. Your poblanos, usually 4 is just about right for this. But roughly you are looking for a rough pound on this. 6 ounces of tomato paste. 15 ounces of diced tomatoes in their own juice. 1 cup of red wine. Any kind of red wine you want, guys. Just make it a nice red. So red with red, and it's full flavored because you have robust flavors here. Paprika, cayenne, salt, and garlic. I'm looking for about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of minced garlic. So I'm going to do about 3 cloves, mince them up real nice, and that'll give me what I need. About a half a teaspoon on that salt, 1/4 to half teaspoon, depending on your granules. If you're using kosher salt, a little more. If you're using the just regular table salt, a little bit less, guys. Table salt is much heavier than kosher. Cayenne, we're going to be using 1/4 to a half a teaspoon on this. Now I want to tell you, cayenne is really, really, really hot. So if you don't want a hot dish, then cut that down to 1/4. If you do like a zesty hot dish, feel free to add more cayenne if you want. I wouldn't go past a teaspoon on this, guys, because it'll make the dish way too hot. Paprika, we're going to use 1 teaspoon on this, okay? And that's just a beautiful chili flavor that it has, and it works super well in this dish. And it really brings out a liveliness to it. So very simple ingredients, as you can see. And over here I have my trusty old camp stove. I've been using that since 1977 and it still runs, it still heats good. So let's get busy making this beautiful dish. Alright guys, it's time that we get our chicken cut up. Have a bowl sitting aside and ready to throw that chicken down into once you get it cut. Now let me pull my breast aside here. This doesn't have to be pretty. We're not looking for anything special on this. All we're looking to do is just to reduce the chicken down to some smaller sizes to be dealt with. And I'm going to kind of butterfly this a little bit. You don't have to do it that way, but if you're capable of it, that's really neat. Now remember, when you're cutting, you want to choke up on that knife, pinch right here in front of the handle at the back of the blade and wrap your fingers around just like this. That way you have the ultimate control on that knife and it won't give you any problems. Now when you're cutting your other hand, you need those fingers turned under. Don't hold your food like this because you can cut those fingers, guys. Turn them under. Allow that knuckle to be your guide for the side of the knife. Isn't that nice? And what I want to do, we're just going to kind of cube this stuff down. Well, my chicken's getting away from me today. So that's not too difficult, is it? Always good to make sure that knife that you're using is good and sharp. Here we go. And all I have to do is take this and put it in my bowl. Yeehaw. So if you would, just go ahead and do up your chicken the exact same way. And if you're going to butterfly this like this, folks, put your fingers on top. Gather them together just like this. Not over the sides, on top. Okay? If they're touching all together, that's just right. You're just steadying the food. And then take that knife and very gently bring it up off of the board about 1/4 of an inch and just very gently stroke through that meat. See there? See how that opens it up? I didn't go all the way through, did I? Big deal. Second stroke. Boom, opens it up a little more. Remember, it doesn't have to be pretty, does it? So if you need to practice cuts like this is a beautiful time to do it for you. All right. So there we go, folks. We have our chicken that's been all shredded up and it's ready to go at it. Let's move right on to taking care of our poblanos now. Well, guys, we are out here on a nice sunny Texas day. I have my poblanos down here. All right, and I have my stove turned on. Right now I'm only running one burner. Just put some poblanos right on top of that one burner. You'll hear them crackle. That's that skin burning off of them. See there? Isn't that nice? What I'm trying to do is to get a little bit of a char on this. It helps to flavor those poblanos, but at the same time, that cooks that skin off. It's going to make it a whole lot easier for me to go ahead and clean it off here in a little bit. So just keep that cooking up over that flame. Now, in the event you don't have a flame like this to cook over, I'd recommend you use a cooking torch. And folks, a cooking torch can be very, very handy. Even when scorching off certain parts of those that might be difficult to get to. Ain't that trick, huh? So a torch can be quite handy. Now guys, our primary goal here is to get the skin off of these, okay? Now, like I said, you can use a torch and they're very, very effective. If you don't own a kitchen torch, well, goodness, these things are about $15. This one has the automatic ignition on it. Make sure you get one that's like that. They're easier to start. Kitchen torches are very nice to have, and you don't have to buy one that's designed for kitchen use. Just an ordinary home propane torch works fine. There is a heavenly aroma that comes up when you are charring off poblanos like this. The smell of it is just fantastic. It's kind of dazzling. And I think people underestimate these chilies a great deal. The flavor is so beautiful and robust and smooth. So very chili-like in its essence. It's no wonder it's the most popular chili in Mexico. All right, guys, let's get busy washing off these poblanos, getting all that off of there. And I'm going to show you two things. Number one, I'm just going to show you how to prepare these to be cut into strips or diced or however. The other thing I want to show you is how to open up one of these so it can be stuffed. Even though we're not stuffing one on the show today, it's just a really cool skill to know how to handle poblanos in that way, or chilies to stuff them. So what I want to do is to first wash off that skin that we just charred. Alright, now that I've washed pretty much most of the skin off, not all of it, I'm going to push my finger into the side and pull down, and that just makes a simple little slit in this. It opens it up just perfect. So here we go. Right down, just like that. In the top you have, pardon me, in the top you have the seed pod. See that? If you reach up in there, put your fingers behind it and just pinch it. Boom. The seed pod and seeds and all pretty much all pop off in your hand, okay? It's just that simple. Up inside of there you have that seed pod pretty much stripped out, okay? There's a little bit left there, but once it's washed, you have a poblano, a big old chili that's ready to stuff. See there? You can put anything you want in that and bake it up, fry it up, or whatever you want it up, and it is ready to go. So a neat way of doing them. Now on this, all we're going to be doing is just removing them from the crown, which means I'm just going to pull back the crown like this, open it up, and we'll wash off any excess seeds. If you're looking to stuff one and you see seeds on these inner veins like this and you pull down, pulling down on that inner vein will often cause the chili just to tear in half like that. So you want to avoid that. So just do all of them pretty much the same exact way. Deseed them, and we'll get down to cutting them here in just a moment. This does not take long. Okay guys, we have now cleaned up our poblanos. Get a bowl to put them in after you cut them, and make sure you have a good sharp knife. Remember those cutting techniques. Pinch in front of the handle, behind the blade, and wrap your fingers around so you have perfect ultimate control of the knife. Much better way of doing it. Always when cutting, keep your fingers turned under on what you're doing, okay? And what I'm talking about is when you're making slices, fingertips themselves get turned under with this center joint turned vertical so that it becomes your knife guide, okay? Just like so. Isn't that simple? Okay? Please remember that simple rule. Keep those fingers turned under. Keep the thumb behind, and you'll always get these beautiful slices. Now what I'm wanting on my stew here is I don't want too long of a slice. I want short slices. Okay, so we're looking about 1.5 inches or 2 inches long on average. Okay, something like that. That will be wonderful for flavor release, as well as just a good vegetable, excuse me, it's actually a fruit, a good fruit to have down in my dish. And if you're wondering, gee, a chili, a fruit? Are you serious? Well, yeah, guys, chilies are fruits. What is a fruit? A fruit is any plant that produces a seed-bearing pod through sexual reproduction. In other words, it has a flower, you know, you had the pollen, all that stuff going on, that flower gets pollinated, suddenly you have a pod growing seeds, or something else growing those seeds. It could be a pineapple. But regardless, it's a chili is a fruit because of that. It may not seem like it is a fruit, but by definition, folks, guess what? It's a fruit. It is a mighty tasty fruit. And it is very healthy. How's that for really neat and quick? Okay, so you don't have to make super duper work of all this, okay? Just get them chopped up and ready to be stewed. Remember, they're not going to be pretty after an hour down in that hot liquid. Okay guys, here we are. My pot has been heating. I'm about to hit it with a little bit of oil. Oh yeah. That oil is starting to smoke, so that pot is really, really hot. The chicken just hit it. Let's hit with a little bit of salt. Not much, because we're going to salt the dish in a moment. But that will help pull flavor out in that chicken during this initial sear. Now, one of the things I like about a camp stove is these things get as hot as a commercial, meaning that they can really crank out heat and you can get serious about cooking. Now guys, something I need to mention at this point. It isn't so important that we cook this chicken. What we're trying to do here is to develop some flavor. By getting some brown down in that pot, we build flavors. Let's take a look at that. There we are. So you see browning on the edges of that chicken from that nice high heat I had. Oh boy. Right there, that's flavor. That was really important, guys. It's not the center of the dish, but it matters. Now from here on out, you just start throwing in ingredients and letting it cook itself down. Now, like I said, this is just good old-fashioned camp cooking. This can be done anywhere, anytime. Let's get our tomato paste in there. Now, in addition to this wine, I'm going to be adding in, and we'll pour it right onto that paste and thin the paste out with the wine. I'm going to be adding in water also. I'm going to switch to my spoon. I like to start with a spatula because that way it washes off anything that's on it. I get everything. Start with the hottest one, the cayenne. I said about 1/4 to 1/2, and if you do more, you're brave. That's 3/4 of a teaspoon. I like mine spicy. A little bit more salt, about 1/2 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of paprika. There we go. If you want to go a little bit over on that paprika, you can do that also. It's going to give that dish a little more warm tone in its overall mouthfeel in the way the flavors come across. Next thing I have to do is get my garlic in there. Okay guys, let's get this garlic processed. Now to remove the husk on garlic, just grip between your thumb and first finger on both hands and gently flex it. You'll hear the paper crackling and then it will come free. That's all you have to do. Don't make paper removal from garlic any harder than this, guys. If you do, you're just overworking yourself, okay? So there's a true chef's tip to you. Now that time I broke the clove. Usually I get these out without breaking them, but you know, sometimes it happens. Now, I'm going to remove the scab from the end of these. Now, when you're doing this mincing technique, this hand is going to be on top of this part of the knife back here. And it's going to be with the thumb turned under, like so. I'm going to be rocking the knife up and down. If you wish to pinch the knife like I've shown you earlier and do it this way, you can. But frankly, I find this technique where you pull back on the handle works far, far better for me. Now, I'm going to crush the garlic cloves first. I do this for one reason, folks. One reason. I don't want them bobbing around when I'm trying to chop them just like this. And they don't. You see how they kind of stay in place? There we are. Do that again. There's a lot of garlic, isn't it, folks? Remember, I was wanting about 1 tablespoon to 1.5 tablespoons. Here we go, with jets flying overhead. See how I can angle the knife? And sometimes, believe it or not, it actually minces better when I give it a little bit of an angle, about 10 or 15 degree angle, and it's turned like this. I can often get a better mince this way. Now, I can hear my liquid boiling. So I'm gonna turn down my heat a little more, because remember, this is a simmer dish. Let's go ahead and get that garlic up in our pan. Yummy. Okay, folks, now remember, these lids get hot, so watch out if you don't have a pot holder or a glove. Our garlic. Let's get that stirred in. Look at that, folks. Isn't that beautiful? Look at all the color in there, that green and red and the white. This is a dish that, like I said, the flavors on it pop. It is so good. So all we need to do now is give this about 45 minutes to an hour. It just kind of needs to slow simmer. And turn the heat down again. And give it time. It just needs lots of time, folks. Now guys, every once in a while, like every 15-20 minutes, open that pot up, stir it a little bit, check its consistency, make sure everything is right, nothing's gone wrong in the world. There we go, look at that, isn't that beautiful? Alright guys, now this has had an hour to simmer. I brought it in, it has just been sitting here for about maybe 10 minutes. Isn't that what a gorgeous stew is supposed to be? Wow. Now that, guys, look at that up close. Oh yes. That is special right there. Now guys, I can say this. When you're spooning up a dish like this, you need to give it just a little something extra. It doesn't have to be anything too dramatic. Something simple will work fine. Just like that right there. What a gorgeous dish. There it is, guys. A beautiful, beautiful, and very tasty stew. Let me tell you something. This one works at any time of the year. It's delicious. Oh, look at that, folks. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous soup. Or I said soup, stew. Pardon me. Chicken Poblano stew. Mmm. Mmm. Guys, savory and sweet with these absolutely almost exotic flavors with it. It is so good. Oh man, this is just one of those things where all of the flavors seem to work perfectly with each other. You know, you have certain dishes that are like that, where they really pop. They really stand out, and this is one of them. It's so very easy to make. There's no reason not to try it. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Texas Cooking Today, guys. Hey, if you haven't seen it yet, I've just started a new channel. It's called Chef Trotters Tips. Look that up on YouTube. I think you might find it in my, if I remember to put it there, down in my description. Let me see. I'll see what I can do to get it down there. Chef Trotters Tips, really cool. To my subscribers, I would like to say thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it so, so very much. If you haven't subscribed, well, please do. Please like. Also, I love answering comments and questions, and I'll do my best to get to as many as I possibly can. So if you could drop something down there, I would really appreciate it. And you folks, well, have a good day. Bye.